Hello, greetings, and all of those things. I am Bobby. Off the screen, maybe you see a little bit of me because I am propped up on a number of pillows and pain pills and dealing with the joyous back spasms that is my life today. Uh, Even though it is 4:20, I cannot do any of the weed because I am the allergic. So our housemate has taken enough THC for everyone in Jefferson County.
Yeah, he drank half of one of those 100 milligram sodas.
Oh. So he's asleep, is what you're saying.
Apparently, he is high as fuck
Yeah.
and hungry.
He just got food delivered like an hour ago, and he's talking about food again. And I don't think he's moved from his bed since he got home at like 3 o'clock.
There you go.
That's the thing. With us tonight, we have my fiance and current caretaker, Goldagoon. And with us for, because where else is he going to go? My lovely little brother, Tank. I would say many other fabulous things about him, but that's all you're getting tonight.
The roles have reversed in the last 24 hours. So
Yeah.
she was the caretaker the last almost 48 hours. So a little bit over 48
72
hours.
hours
Yeah.
almost. Goldagoon here had a tummy bug that started Sunday night and just eased up on him this morning.
Yeah.
He's finally been able to keep in solid foods, which is, a good thing. And I am not sick. I am just in pain. And let me just tell you, when you have the constitution that I do when it comes to medications, I have taken a muscle relaxer and a Percocet, and it has not touched the pain.
That's unfortunate.
So, depending on how this sitting up thing goes, I may start drinking.
That's always good.
Because, mixing alcohol with muscle relaxers and Percocet is always a good idea. For those of you who are at home, do not live by my example. Okay. So while Mark was convalescing and dying from the stomach bug he picked up over Easter weekend,
Yes.
we watched The Batman.
The Batman.
On streaming. Last week we talked about the fact that it was coming to streaming sooner than we had anticipated. But since it was there and he was not able to move from the couch, that's what we watched. So, love The Batman.
Bum, 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 bum. Insert some less than spectacular special effects and the biggest dune buggy I've ever seen on TV. Bum, bum, bum. Tank and I were arguing about this one last night, and we will continue to do this here. Not my favorite take on the Batman franchise.
Not my favorite take either. I don't find it as horrible as you do, apparently.
Whoever was in the meeting room with the composer, Chris, whatever his name is, who does a lot of stuff, who, we've heard of some of the things he's done, but nobody's been like, yes, he's really good at that. Whoever was in the meeting room and decided, let's just dumb down the Imperial March and play that in the background the entire movie and start the movie with a Nirvana song that we heard in the previews and end the movie basically with the same Nirvana song and then add another 20 minutes after that. It was painful to listen to. It was a sonically awful experience.
Okay, I liked the open. I thought the open was really cool.
And I not to trash the whole thing because I do like the fact that we did not get an origin story this time. I think the Batman origin story has been played out to this point.
Yeah, this movie is set solidly in the year 2 timeline of Batman.
Right, that's where he's writing his diaries from, and I do like the little camera lenses he has. Those are pretty neat. The contact lenses.
Well, I like the beginning of the story because you're starting from the killer's perspective. You don't know that
Right,
until it's way too late, but
right.
you're starting from the killer's perspective. And then I love that's how they started the movie because you're like, all right, you look like you're about to witness something through the some surprise witness, but in reality it's the killer just looking at his prey, essentially.
Yeah, I I was because I waited till it came out on streaming, obviously,
Hmm.
to watch it because I wasn't going to pay for it.
Hmm.
Um, Mostly because I don't know because we didn't pay for it. Mostly because we just forgot to go see it. But the the motif with the Nirvana song was interesting to me because when the movie first came out, um, I noticed an uptick in that song being played on
Oh
like
yeah.
Spotify. My Spotify played it randomly, and then there's my favorite band, Avatar, which there's a sticker directly above my head, and a number of other things. They did a cover of it about, I don't know, 10, 12 years ago. And all of a sudden, that was like their number one played song. And I'm
Oh
like,
yeah.
what is going on? Like, what in the world? Nobody liked Something in the Way when it first came out, except for like the super hardcore Nirvana fans. Um, and then all of a sudden it just like is everywhere and like everyone's listening to it, and that pretty much drove the musical motif through the entire story. Was just that two notes which happened to go with timpanis, and I just couldn't it like it just slowed the story down for me every time there was something happening. It was bomb 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 bomb,
Okay.
just dragging the story down with it.
I agree with you with the audio aspect. The very slow, trying to be menacing but mostly being annoying drum, that droning through a not insignificant portion of the movie, was irritating. It was also incredibly loud, so whoever did the audio mixing did something fucking wrong with the foreground and background.
It was so prevalent.
Yeah, the because the audio mixing of the music was way too much.
Like
It
I
was
said, it's
too
a
high.
sonically horrible experience.
The beginning with that song, actually, I thought was good. That was a good beginning. It was an interesting song choice to kind of give you an idea of the darker aspects of what's about to happen.
Yeah, and I don't just to kind of flow along with that. I do really enjoy that song. The lyrics to that song really are about just kind of a psychopath troll. It's really like Penguin, basically. You know, he's eating fish because they don't have any feelings, and he collects all these other animals. It's really a sociopathic song that is talked about by Kurt Cobain in that in the
Yeah.
lyrics. Just kind of
Well, and
crazy.
I think they did that to kind of give you the dichotomy of Riddler and Batman,
Yeah.
or both having this weird psychopathy connection that we don't understand until the end.
I also enjoyed that they decided to take the flamboyant neon, uh, all jokes aside, puns, all of that stuff out of the Riddler dynamic and make him the most like just plain monogram, just drab
Monotone.
green monogram, just one color.
Oh,
So it's all just one color with the mask and then the glasses over the mask, and that's all you see of him pretty much through the whole movie. And all the minions, not to spoil anything, but all the minions at the end all wear the same monotone green mask and that kind of thing. Monotone, monogram. I don't know what the word is.
I think a monogram is a
monogram
thing.
is your
Monochromatic.
letters.
Thank you, Matt.
monochromatic. would be
That's the word I
one
was looking for.
color scale, essentially.
So,
Which you're right. It was all that olive drab, camouflage, military. It was very John Doe military clothing, like very nondescript assault style stuff in nature, but completely. I'm trying to say it's completely buried into the background. You don't
Yeah.
see it. You don't. It's not supposed to be flashy. It's not supposed to be flamboyant. His actions are, not his appearance.
Right. And to me, all the puzzles and all that stuff, I mean, we're talking about kind of a combination of the Joker from the previous, where he's taking the video of himself and putting it on the news, and Jigsaw from the Saw movies is what it kind of reminded me of. I do like that they had one small moment of Riddler-esque humor in there with the thumb
There's a
drive.
couple.
The thumb drive though got me. I thought that
The
was
thumb
funny.
drive was funny. There is a couple of those, like the greeting cards.
Yeah, the green cards
Had
were pretty
little hints at dark humor and death,
good. Yeah.
and just kind of needling at the Batman.
And I also always enjoy Jeffrey Wright.
Yeah, understandable.
The guy is amazing.
See, you brought up slow pacing, but I think that was entirely on purpose, and I think it was good because that's what this Batman is. He's not the action hero Batman. He's the detective Batman. He's trying to solve a serial killer case.
I agree that it is a good detective movie.
Yeah.
I also liked that this was a much darker, grittier Batman.
Yeah. Oof.
The Dark Knight and that whole Christian Bale universe, like it had a darker aspect than what we had seen previously.
Mm-hmm.
But this took it even a step beyond that, and this made it gritty and not just dark.
Well, and those
It also gave you a human aspect to not just Batman, which I know you didn't like the human aspect of Batman, but the human aspect of everyone, including his parents and Gotham. Alfred was, I think, a more dynamic character.
Yeah.
What did Matt say?
I'm trying to read it.
King Goon is on
Yeah.
line.
He should just jump on with us.
Oh, he's saying what I said basically. It felt like a Detective Comics Batman. So down to the cinematography, most of the shots could have been just comic book panels.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think that was fully the intent. Because like you said, the Dark Knight trilogy was very dark, street level, gritty kind of a story. But it was an action movie. It was still an action movie from beginning to end. All three parts were an action movie. This was not. This was not an action movie. This is the beginnings of Batman. This is before all of the over-the-top supervillains, before all of the crazy storylines and all that stuff. This is a guy that becomes a detective because he can't get over the fact that his parents were killed for no reason. That's what this story was.
I get that. It just took so long to tell that. It felt like it took so long to tell that story just because of the way it was delivered.
Well, and I could tell you why it felt that long. Because the movie was 30 minutes too long.
I mean, that's probably true too.
It was 30 minutes too long. Everything leading up to that final scene are the right up until the dam breaks or the water wall breaks. Up until that point, you had a complete story. And then someone looked at it and said, "Where's the action? It's Batman. It's superheroes. Where's the action sequence?" So then they add this half an hour long sequence of the water wall breaking and him having to try and save the city and all this stuff, which felt like the beginning of a different movie.
Yeah,
I can agree with that.
I out loud audibly started jeering and said cheesy AF when he lights the flare,
Yeah.
the waterproof flare, and it's just chasing it, and then everyone starts going with him, and suddenly the mayoral candidate who had been shot in the side and was almost dying can run through 3 feet of water right behind Batman because he's got the flare of justice.
Apparently, you summoned him.
There he
we
is.
summoned him.
And I am here.
All
Sorry,
right, King
I was
Boone.
foot in downtown Boston listening to you guys, so I was chiming in. And I finally got back up to my hotel room.
Aha.
So how is the Booza Hall out in Boston?
Tasty. The Sam Adams Tap Room downtown is fantastic. Hit my share of Irish pubs the last couple of days and have definitely partaken in the goodness that is the Boston booze scene.
Huzzah.
Did you make it to the brewery in Jamaican? What is it?
No.
South Jamaican?
I had a choice of either going to the tap room or down to Jamaica Plains, and
Jamaican Plains. That's there.
yeah, and I was
No.
meeting up with my old college roommate, and it was just better to meet up at the tap room, so we did that.
That's fair.
Yeah.
It's not that far to get there, but yeah, if you've got the option to meet somebody that you've seen, then
Right.
do that.
Right.
So
What does that say?
it says you don't want to leave. Hit cancel.
Thank you. Sorry. Dog just stepped on my keyboard.
Dog decided she wanted to put something in the comments.
Damn it, dog.
Kill the cast.
Yeah. So, dog is actually dying right now. She is exhausted
Yeah.
because for that 3-mile walk that we went on, she was with us,
Oh, splendid.
and it was a lovely warm day today. Not super hot, mid 70s. So great day to walk around the lake.
It was the most moving I've done since Sunday afternoon.
I'll bet.
Okay, so Matt, you joined, I assume, to jump in on Batman, but we'll keep you for as long as you can
Yeah,
stay away.
It's all good. It wasn't great, but it wasn't terrible. It's firmly ensconced in the middle of recent Batman movie kind of a rankings, right? I agree with Tank. As a detective movie, man, that I saw where they were going with it, and I really liked how he was like trying to figure out clues, and they're bringing him in to look at crime scenes, and that's like old school, total, just 1950s and 60s Batman stuff. Like some of the stuff that they were doing, even in the video game, and I can't remember what the name of it is. It was Dark Knight or just the Batman video, Arkham Asylum, the Arkham series was all totally like detective stuff, right? And I really enjoyed that bit of it because, they joke, with in some of the other movies, like, what's your superpower? I'm rich. No bullshit. The dude's a detective, and he uses all of his tools to figure out the things that these people leave behind and figure out the clues and then figure out, how to defeat whatever the plot is. Insert name of villain and insert name of plot here. So I really enjoyed that kind of departure from the usual mythos that we get from Batman. Mark, you're right. That goddamn theme is just, why 2 chords? I mean, come on. Danny Elfman kicked its ass. The greatest Batman theme ever is Batman from 1989. We'll just go out it, right?
Going off the rails a little bit, did you guys see Danny Elfman this weekend at Coachella?
No.
Did like a 45-minute set, and then in the middle of it, ripped his shirt off. The guy is in better shape than all of us here on this panel, except for my fiance.
So one of the guys I'm hanging out with next week runs the beer program at Coachella, and I'll have to ask him about that. So thank you for that.
Yeah, it's one of the big things. If you look up Danny Elfman on Twitter right now, you'll see him. You're like, holy fuck, is that guy really 65?
I mean that Batman theme from those first 4 movies was that is totally Batman. I mean, you
Right.
can do whatever you want with the Christopher Nolan stuff and whatever.
Well,
Elfman
that was Hans Zimmer.
was that Zimmer with the first 4?
No, Zimmer did the Christopher Nolan stuff,
Zimmer did
Yeah,
Christopher.
Zimmer did the Nolans.
which was also pretty good, I thought.
Wasn't bad, right? But it was just whimsical and fun and had that comic book vibe to it. This I understood what they were doing a lot, and I said it in the comment. A lot of the cinematography looked like it was designed to look like comic book panels. Like when he comes out of the darkness and he's got those guys in the clown makeup and they're beating the shit out of that guy, and all they hear is like footsteps, and then he just steps out of the darkness, and the shading and the fact you couldn't really see anything but the ears and the bottom of his chin, that was right out of a comic book. A lot of the stuff when they were on the scaffolding in the construction area, and they had like the light behind it, all you could really see were shadows, of Catwoman beating the shit out of the cop or whatever.
That's fine if you want to do a film noir version of Batman, which is totally fine. Then you need to throw some jazz music in there. Like,
Right.
there is no reason to have this awful of it just ruined the whole thing for me. It literally did. Like,
I disagree with the jazz aspect of it, but
Yeah, I don't. That's gonna want
that wouldn't have really fit with the tone. Maybe if you get some really interesting blues, maybe, but I don't know.
Well,
jazz is right.
it's the right kind of jazz that you need for a film noir.
I don't
That's the aspect of the detective story. Well, I mean, anything would be better than what we got.
Right. The thing was what it was.
I hate that phrase.
I agree that it wasn't great, but and I think I'm on Tank's side here. It didn't necessarily ruin the film for me. It was intentionally slow paced. It wasn't slow because it was. It was slow because they wanted it to be slow, and the detective aspect to it as well. So, and I said it in our group chat. It's right in the middle. It's not greater than the best, but it's certainly nowhere near Batman or Robin or Batman Returns. Like it's right in the middle. Interested to see if they're going to carry it forward, especially with the shit they did at the end. That'd be kind of interesting to see how.
I'm assuming so. And the ending, the very much John Doe 7 ending of "This was all for you." I loved that when he kind of tells him, like, "Oh, this was all for you. We were working together to rid the city of all the evil."
Right.
I loved that, and I was like, "Oh, that's kind of cool. I like how they did that." How the Riddler felt a connection with the Batman.
That part of it kind of reminded me of an M. Night Shyamalan kind of moment. Like, gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, his are stupid though. That was a good one, and it made sense when you get to the idea that these two were orphans.
No, okay, so M. Night Shyamalan has become a little bit of a cliche, but tell me that you didn't watch Unbreakable and love the twist at the end.
Oh
yeah, okay.
Oh, yeah.
Early M. Night Shyamalan, I would agree.
Yeah.
I also watched The Village, and it was bloody awful, and the twist was
hated that movie.
So, okay, but I was talking about the comic book aspect of like the Unbreakable and the Sixth Sense and that kind of thing. When he had those, he was good at it.
Right.
I loved that reveal, and I also loved the interpretation, the interpretation that Robert Pattinson had when he heard it. Of, oh shit, am I really inspiring this kind of crazy ass behavior?
Right.
Yeah.
Like you could see it on his face, like, oh no.
What did I do?
The
fact that they kind of turned that on its head, because typically it's Batman exists, Batman shuts down crime escalates, and then you get Joker, Riddler, Mr. Freeze, and all these crazy. This time it's Batman exists. Batman doesn't know really if he's doing any good, but now Batman inspires Riddler, Joker
to do what he's doing,
do all these other things because they're trying to kind of twisted sort of way. And the vibe I got, especially from the scene in the asylum, was more Seven than it was anything else. Like
That's what I was thinking too.
all
And,
credit. I mean, just the dead eyes of the actor and the way he was able to just put that for a pure psychopath and pure just insanity of, hey, I'm doing the right thing here. These guys are all bad dudes. I'm doing what be done because these people are all awful. He was totally bought in to what he was doing and the way he was doing it. Not to mention the fact, flushing aside that, he's killing them, right? And in awful ways. I mean, I did enjoy it. It wasn't, like I said, it wasn't terrible. It wasn't great, but would like to see more perhaps of this universe and see what, they go forward with for sure.
I was also a little perturbed that there were no stakes involved. Like, Alfred doesn't die when he gets blown up. Like if you're gonna
leave Alfred out of this.
The city got destroyed.
They flooded
the city. Okay, but who dies though?
They killed most of the government of the city.
What of the main character? Who did we lose? What of the main characters did we lose?
The mayor.
Falco.
Okay. How do we usually lose anyway?
Carmine Falcone.
Hopefully, at least one or two of the bad guys get blown up accidentally.
We did lose.
Carmine got shot.
All right, all right, guys. We can continue going down. I was going to say rabbit hole, but we're going to say Batcave.
I was mostly just seeing where I could go with that.
I was going to say no good guys dying yet.
Okay.
I just knew I could rile them up if I said that.
We can keep going, but we're already almost 30 minutes into the show tonight, and we have only covered one topic.
So,
right?
Cut it off.
So,
Duchess.
I think that The Batman is worth a watch. I was surprisingly pleased with the cast, but the score sucks. And we can either move on to continue with what's happening in the DC universe, or we can stay on the Danny Elfman track. Which way do you guys want to go?
I'll say one more thing. I am very glad that we finally got a Batman who acknowledged that he needed to wear makeup in order to make the costume work.
Yeah, to hide his skin.
Yeah, they had the eye makeup.
That was smart, actually. I like how they did that.
I will leave you with this thought. It's the best movie since Wonder Woman. Definitely worth a watch. Check it out.
Yeah.
If you got...
Oh, you're cutting out.
Oh, no.
Yeah, we didn't get any of that audio.
Didn't hear almost anything you said.
Oh, no!
We heard Wonder Woman.
At
At least I did.
I'm hoping that he said best DC movie since Wonder Woman and not since Wonder Woman 1984.
Yeah, since Wonder Woman, not 1994.
Yeah, that was not a good movie.
No.
But this movie is good watch. Cut it off when you get the revelation scene.
Although the very last couple of minutes in the asylum.
Yeah, and then watch the post credits with the Riddler talking to somebody in the darkness.
Do we know who that was?
Yes.
We do. They've basically confirmed it already.
Yeah. They also released a cut scene from another part of that movie.
Oh, yeah, you can see his face.
Oh,
that man goes and talks to the same bloke in Arkham.
Yeah.
So you can go find that on Twitter and see that cut scene.
Yeah, there is a cut scene with him talking to
said fellow
who we're presuming but has not been completely identified as the Joker, I believe.
Well,
I wasn't going to say that, but
why not?
The damn
what it is.
Damn movie's been out for 6 months. It ain't a spoiler, and the thing's been on HBO Max for 3 days. It's not a spoiler.
3 days. That's cutthroat, Matt.
All right, let's stick with the
October.
DC universe.
Shut up.
We're not breaking the law here. It's not a spoiler. I'll give
2
you
weeks.
for a theatrical release. I'll give you 7 days.
I give you 2 weeks.
I'm good with it.
2 weeks,
In
and then you
6
can say
months.
whatever you want.
It's actually
'Cause-
been 8 months.
Yeah.
Come on.
All right. Let's move
Okay.
on to some other part of the DC universe.
Yeah, the rest of the DC universe. So Warner Brothers is saying DC movies and TV are completely getting overhauled. And Tank has an interesting insight on that. So Tank.
Yeah, so this has already been kind of knowledge that we knew was happening, that there's going to be some overhauls there because the Warner Brothers Media Group has a new president. I cannot remember her name. I'm sure it's in there somewhere.
You keep talking. I'll pull it up.
Well, this person started off on the Discovery brand. She developed shows for Food Network and HGTV and stuff like that, and then she was been running the streaming service for the Discovery Plus, I guess. So she's been running that entire part of the organization. They were bought out by the Warner Media Group, and she was installed as the new president, essentially, of the entire Warner Media Group company. Based on her background, there's not much that we know at this point, that besides the fact that most of it is tied to HGTV, Food Network, and stuff like that. So she doesn't seem to have any experience in the other brands that would be controlled by Warner. And I don't know what that means exactly, because the other brands controlled by Warner include obviously the DC universe, also TNT and TBS, and that could create an interesting change. Just because there doesn't seem to be any background in filmmaking or sports or anything, which those companies rely heavily on. So I don't know. I mean, we don't know enough about the plans yet, except that there's stuff's going to be changing, essentially.
So one of the things that is being said is they're looking for a Feige type of figurehead to handle the DC cinema, film universe and cinematography and whatever. But who they're talking about being this figurehead, this overseer, does not seem to have the nerd cred.
She doesn't seem to have anything besides the Discovery Network, which doesn't rely on, it's all basically reality TV stuff.
Channing Dungey? Is that who we're talking about?
So,
I
I don't think so.
Jean-Briac Perret.
There you go.
Yeah, that's not on this list I'm looking at.
I think
yesterday.
What we will see a lot of from her, if her background is any indicator, is that middle-aged women around the world will love the new DC universe. We should see a lot more of the shirtless superheroes, and possibly even just Aquaman 3. He stands there and gets pelted with water while everyone stares lovingly at his abs.
Expect a lot of renovations in Gotham coming up soon. And midgets who want 4 wives.
Oh my gosh.
She's part of Discovery.
You can't say that.
Okay, short people with 800 wives.
The word is little people. So
Okay,
one of
extraordinarily
the
short people with polygamy problems.
right, there you go. One of the mantras of people who are super successful is they tend to surround themselves with people who are smarter than they. Now, it doesn't always work out that way. So I'm hoping that
I was incorrect. The CEO is going to be David Zaslav. The other person is just going to be the chief executive for streaming and international entertainment.
Yeah, Zaslav was the name I saw.
Yeah, Zaslav is the new CEO of the entire Discovery and Warner Media company.
Okay.
Right.
He is the current owner of or current CEO of Discovery.
Hopefully they're smart enough to realize that they're not smart enough to figure out how to properly portray what they're doing on either the small or the big screen. For years, DC's small screen stuff has been fantastic. The Arrowverse has been great. Even into the last couple of years, I'll give you, the Flash has been a little odd, but Superman Lois is one of my favorite shows on television. It's just so good. But their big screen stuff has been notably trash. And they don't have someone who's like that Kevin role that's overseeing all of it. And if they're smart, they'll have someone who's in that role who can oversee all of this particular bit of what Warner Brother owns, and then can be able to portray that and control that and have more of a cohesive storytelling. Because let's be honest, the last 4 years, Marvel's been kicking everyone's ass, and their storytelling.
Do you really think it's only been the last 4 years?
I was going to say 4 years.
Well, I mean, yeah, probably right. I mean, but I mean, I'll give you like the stuff they're doing on Disney Plus lately, because they're getting it all together.
I'm talking since the first Iron Man.
On the big screen, can we say
on the big screen? Yes.
MCU has been kicking DC's ass.
Yes, absolutely. On the big screen, it's been 100% Marvel by knockout in the first round every single time. Even if individual movies haven't necessarily been hits in the eyes of the fans, well, and they're still making money. But now they're also, bringing all that stuff into the Disney Plus realm, and the What If series and the series that they've been putting out since really the beginning of last year. So, WandaVision and Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and just carrying that story forward. That's the vision of one guy. That's one dude that's running all of that, and he's doing a fantastic job. So what Warner needs to do is have one person who can do that for them as well. And I hope
what Warner needs to do is not drink 100 milligram THC soda.
Yeah.
And then order more
fast food, which could be happening shortly. Matt, the first Netflix series came out around 2015 for Marvel, and that was like Daredevil and Jessica Jones, and I think even those were all above and beyond better than anything that the DC universe came out with.
I will agree with that.
A little bit apples and oranges.
Other than
no, it's not apples and oranges. We're comparing.
Have you watched Titans?
Titans.
Have you watched Titans? That's a pretty cool show.
Can get away with on Netflix is different what they can get away with on broadcast television. So the medium.
You're talking about Disney Plus too.
The medium counts. No, I know. I'm saying
you're arguing yourself into circles, my friend.
Okay, all right.
Disney Plus is great, but with broadcast, the stuff that they're doing in the Arrowverse. I mean, the Arrowverse has been going on for 9 years.
Something like that.
Correct me if I'm wrong there. The Arrowverse has been fantastic. You also have to take into account the medium in which the stories have been told.
Did anybody tell you that your head is just giant?
I get that all the time.
No, I'm taking into account the medium, because we're talking about Disney Plus shows. We're also talking about, Netflix started their stuff in 2015, and that stuff was just as good, but you can't take different mediums.
After Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Right.
And the first 2 seasons of that show were decent.
Yep.
Okay. So the point is, DC has finally realized
that their heads
That-
are up their collective tuchuses.
that they need to have a vision that is cohesive. We'll see whether or not that happens.
Property Brothers in masks.
Because right now, from one MCU platform to the next, whether it be a TV show, a movie, whatever, you can see how the whole universe ties together. And in the DCEU, you really don't see that.
Guy
It's not-
Fieri, attorney at law.
It does not tie together whatsoever. I mean, even from Arrowverse to Titans to whatever happens in the movies, none of it ties together.
Well, and
Right.
not even mentioning just the tying in stuff, just the outclassing. I mean, even on this show, every week we talk about numbers, and we're talking about Batman did good numbers for DC compared to Marvel. It's just a completely different realm. So Marvel is just crushing them, and so they have to redefine what they're going to do if they want to keep up.
Which is super, because Batman and Superman are far more ingrained into the society and the culture for decades, way more than Iron Man, Captain America, Falcon, Vision, Wanda, Wolverine, any of them. I mean, those guys go back almost 100 years.
Right. I think that
Right.
the dynamic of that has changed since our generation, though. I think Tank and I's generation grew up with the Wolverine being the coolest guy on the planet, and, Iron Man and Spider-Man and that kind of thing. So,
Wolverine comics in the 80s. So I get it, right?
right,
About from a
the
society,
dynamic has shifted in the last 30 years.
it's from
Okay, let's stay in the MCU, but let's jump to the MCU, and let's talk about the fact that there are going to be 2 movies coming out this year. The first,
In the next couple months.
Yeah.
coming out shortly.
Yeah.
The first we watched the trailer of, and let me just say it was new. I'm trying to think, not HGTV, but definitely reality show-ish. And that is Thor: Love and Thunder.
That one's not coming out to July, technically.
Okay, it's still coming
But
out
still,
soon.
we watched we saw a preview for it.
Well, she said first. First would be Madness.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
it.
Well,
That's in May.
first on my computer screen,
Okay, yeah. Okay. I legitimately was like, wait, what?
Before starting the broadcast.
the first thing that pops up when I do Alt Tab
Okay.
There you go. She's in
is
charge. Just roll with it.
Thor: Love and Thunder, and this is really what looks to be a coming of age or coming of middle age, as it were, type of movie. You see him working out. He's no longer fat Thor.
There's gonna be a montage.
But it also looks like Guardians 2.5.
Well, yeah, that's kind of where they left us.
Right. Makes sense. I'm down with it. I'm all good with it.
I don't know if
But
I
I
see it as a
think there's going to be a lot more of the story that they're not showing that has to deal with one person that you only see for a fraction of a second at the end.
I say
And that
3
is-
people that you don't really see much of at all.
Well, I'm thinking of the big one,
JF.
Natalie Portman.
Yes, we're going to be getting Jane Foster Thor at some point.
Right. Oh, we already know that. I mean, that
And she
I mean,
looks
she's
yoked.
great.
image out there.
Yeah, well, she's actually in the trailer,
Yeah.
but it's
At the
only
very
until
end
the
of it.
last second.
But they did leave out one huge character that I'm assuming is going to play a pretty big role in this movie. And that would be Gore the God Butcher.
He's coming.
Yeah,
I think they intentionally left out
Oh, yeah.
Gore
There's-
the God Butcher so
there's
that we don't see it until we go watch the movie.
Yeah, there's no antagonist in the movie. It's come see this. It's Thor. It's funny. It's a
Mhm.
rock and roll adventure, but there didn't actually show anything that relates to the story or an antagonist. If it's a Marvel movie, there's gonna be a bad guy. So I'm right there with you. I think it's gonna be Gore.
I think this is going to be 3 different stories kind of intertwined. You are getting the, like you said, the coming of age. I don't think it's coming of age necessarily as understanding their destiny, kind of a situation with Thor Odin's son specifically. His dad's dead. He put somebody else in control of Asgard.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Eventually, he's going to have to take the mantle of king. A big chunk of this movie is being pulled from the Mighty Thor storyline. And if anyone has not read that, please go read that, because it is an incredible story. It actually spans a couple series, but it does the Mighty Thor, King Thor, and a couple different things where you're getting the Gore the God Butcher storyline is in there. And that is a ridiculously good story. So if you have not read that, please see if you can find it, because it is a really good read.
And if you would like to have it and do not have it, please message Knox Nostalgic Collectibles.
I do not currently have that. So do not visit me.
Don't.
I do not currently. I have
multiple resources on YouTube. Yeah. Comic Blade is a very good one.
I have King Thor. That's the only part that I have.
Really good too.
Which is really good, but I'd say read the other part first, because a lot of what happens in King Thor is because of what happens in the War of the Realms and in the Mighty Thor storylines. But you're getting that. You're getting the Anointed King storyline. And you're also getting the Jane Foster storyline, which is huge when she takes over as Thor.
Lady Thor.
And there's a lot of story that takes place for why she becomes Thor. And the consequences of her becoming Thor.
It's going to be, not dumbed down, but trimmed down.
Like, you're going to have to trim it down, because
tell that story in a 2.5-hour movie.
Yeah, it's a very extensive story, and then you're also getting Gore the God Butcher,
right?
Which is
just like they're not going to be able to cover. Oh God, what's the jabroni's name? Who's the who's going to be big bad? Fuck, I can't remember. His name. Say it again.
You're not going to be getting any of the Null stuff, I don't think.
No, you're not going to get that. But what's the jabroni they introduced at the end of Loki? Brain fart, getting old sucks.
Are you talking about Nathaniel Richards?
No. Kang. Yeah, Kang.
That's Nathaniel Richards.
Yeah, Kang the Conqueror. Well,
Nathaniel Richards is part of it. You're probably going to get a small bit of information about that character, but I would not expect it to be a lot.
That's going to be like that Thanos cut scene at the end, right, where they just kind of like tell the story, and then they have
exactly. You're going to get something else at the end of it,
right?
But no, this is very much you
get a little bit more with the stuff that's coming next.
Yeah, you're getting.
I know we're going to talk about the other movie soon, because
this movie is going to be the Unworthy Thor, the Mighty Thor, and Gore the God Butcher, all kind of tied together with a dose of Guardians. I'm assuming we're not actually going to get a whole lot of the Guardians. We're probably going to get a little bit. I think this movie is going to be we're not going to know exactly what happened with all of them, but we're going to get a little bit of information between what happened when he left with the Guardians and then why they break off from him for the Guardians 3.
Disney's starting to blur the lines a lot. Like we saw what they did with Boba Fett. I mean, the Book of Boba Fett was Mandalorian 2.5. It wasn't a Boba Fett story. It was a story of the universe. It just happened to be they put the Boba Fett name on it. They might be blurring a little bit that. So you might get more, because they're so funny. Like the Guardians storylines are just so goddamn entertaining and fun. I can see them not having a majority of presence in the plot, but a big presence.
See, I think they're going to play a little bit of presence in the plot, and then have whatever happens to them is going to directly relate to what's going to happen in Guardians 3. You're going to see something happen here that creates that separation from Thor and the Guardians.
Good.
And they're either going to be sent off on a mission or something, and they're going to
Get
split
into
apart.
a fight and throw Thor on the ground.
Yeah, there's going to be something weird that happens here that's going to create this separation, because that's how they have to do it. Because we
Thor
know
gets
that Guardians
sad and decides to not be Fat Thor anymore, and he's going to have a montage.
Well, that's going to be part of it, probably. But we're definitely getting the unworthy Thor here.
Yeah,
and I think that's going to be good. But if you want this story, God, I mean, I can only trace it so far back, but there's about 8 years worth of comics between the beginning of this and the end of this show.
I think, Tank,
so,
you're probably going to get. I mean, in a 2.5-hour movie, you're going to get maybe 40 minutes of unworthy Thor, and they're going to. It's the story that needs to be told in order to carry on the rest of what they're going to do, but they have to touch on it. It's just not going to be.
Well, it has to be. Like, the main plot of Unworthy Thor and Mighty Thor are completely intertwined. Mighty Thor, for the people who don't understand that's where Jane Foster became Thor.
Right.
Was the Mighty Thor. And those two stories completely connect.
Right.
There is so much integration between those stories.
The way they have to do these movies, they don't put these movies together for you. They put these movies together for everyone. So they're going to.
Yeah. Well, they're going to touch on this stuff, but if you want in-depth on it, go find the end of the original Sin and then read from there through Mighty Avenger into King Thor.
Brilliant.
Wait for the movie to come out. Next on the agenda.
Yes. This movie's going to be amazing, I think.
Okay.
Staying in the MCU.
Yes.
But moving over to a different tab on my computer, and that is the new Scarlet Witch movie. I mean, Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness.
The new X-Men movie.
Fairly accurate. This is the Doctor Strange and Scarlet Witch story.
Not to mention a very much opening to a lot of other different.
Oh yeah, kicking the fucking doors down on that one.
We're gonna get Fantastic Four. We're gonna get the X-Men.
Four. I don't think you're gonna get four. I think you're gonna.
Reed Richards is one of the.
I think he's. I would agree. I think he's one of the.
You think going full Illuminati with Reed?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. They've already made mention of it.
And the only reason I think that is because we're getting Kang right now.
Yep.
Right. We're definitely getting X, right? And we've seen the wheelchair. So
you hear Patrick Stewart. It goes beyond that. You hear Patrick Stewart's voice.
I get that bit, right? I get that, and I got the verbiage, but we saw the fucking wheelchair.
Yeah.
So
they showed us the wheelchair.
Different universe.
Yes.
Well, he's part of the Illuminati.
Well, and that's part of the storyline.
Yeah.
Because one of the more interesting theories going out there is we're finally going to see the reality of our universe. Everything we've seen up to this point was not the real reality. It was all being covered by external forces. Right. And that's why we didn't see X-Men. That's why we didn't see the Fantastic Four. That's why we didn't see Spider-Man until, later in the thing. And then we know that there's other Spider-Man. So it's the breaking down the walls of the illusion. And that's the only people who can do that are the magicians.
Are we going to see 619? I'm like, are they really going to call that out?
I think so.
That's what I'm kind of excited for, right? Like, how do they put all of that together and do?
And because Kang is so intertwined with what's going to be happening, I think they have to, at this point, at the very least, pay homage or make reference to the Fantastic Four. Because Kang, one of his, if we're going to go with the variant talk, one of his variants is Nathaniel Richards.
Right.
Who is the great-grandson in the 3200s or something like that.
Yeah.
And he becomes one of the variants of Kang and goes back in time.
I'd also really like to see how they treat the Illuminati in terms of T'Challa.
Well, yeah,
How they, I've got no dog in the fight. Like I don't have any expectations. I just want to see how they do it. Right? How do you handle T'Challa in terms of Illuminati?
won't believe he's going to be part of this iteration of the Illuminati.
I just want to know how they explain it, because there's going to be, as you and I and the other two on the couch know, nerd rage is real. So if you have an Illuminati and don't have T'Challa part of it, and don't explain how T'Challa is not part of it, there's going to be an outrage.
Well, and then also, who are you going
I
to?
think when you're dealing with a multiverse, it's really easy to explain away stuff, right? Like it fell through a crack in time, or anything like that could easily explain away stuff.
Oh, you can easily do it.
I'm not as much interested as that as to what it opens up. I'm trying to talk, sir. You keep your damn mouth shut over there. Spend one day over there, and all you do is talk over people. I see how it is.
Miles away, I would throat punch you right now.
Oh, that's just because you're just talking too damn much.
You're going to force choking from Boston.
Hole, sir.
Yeah. Carry on there.
Mouthy ass Boston asshole.
Becoming a masshole after spending a couple days in Boston.
Come on,
Spend one day there. You need to go park your car.
God, have it, yard.
No, it's going to be the Scarlet Witch story. It's going to be Doctor Strange, and you've got, a lot of that going on. And they have mentioned this Illuminati, and Tom Cruise is in it. Whether or not he is Iron Man or not is going to be interesting.
I think that's the only thing he can be. Who else would he be?
Nobody else.
He could be Young X.
He has to be their version of that would be disrespectful.
What is it, Ultra Iron Man or Golden Iron Man? Yeah,
he's going to be the Superior Iron Man or something
Superior
like that.
Iron Man, that's what it is. I mean, they've already shown the suit in the trailer. So
I don't know if that's him.
It is.
I don't know if it is.
I think it is.
You've got to remember, they also are going to be introducing sometime soon 3 other versions of Iron Man.
Right.
Because there's going to be Riri Williams, who's Ironheart, Nathaniel Richards, who is Kang, but is also Iron Lad.
Right.
And that Henry kid potentially becoming an Iron Man and participating in the Iron Wars story.
Right.
Which is going to be coming soon.
Yeah, Iron Wars is absolutely coming.
Yeah. So that's why this whole thing, like, it basically is like, they can do whatever they want with this version of the Illuminati.
Mm-hmm.
The mainline Iron Man's not in it. Mainline Black Panther's not in it because they're dead. Now, that might lead into what happens with the Wakanda Forever story. Maybe that'll kind of lean into that at some point a little bit. But they could also bring in Namor now as part of the Illuminati.
I would love that.
Because he is part of the original Illuminati.
Yeah. He's overdue.
So bringing in Namor would be a huge thing, especially with Black Panther dying and him showing up suddenly.
Right.
That could be a big part of what happens.
Tom Hanks, do you think?
Huh?
The Illuminati, and everything that's going on.
Yeah, that'll be 2 Disney properties that they could mix up.
That'll be a different version of Illuminati.
Say that again.
Right, like just have Tom Hanks come in. He can sing that thing you do.
Tom Hanks.
He can.
No, wait. Tom Hanks. Then you have Nick Cage. Then you have Professor Xavier. There's your Illuminati right there.
So Nick Cage as Nick Cage or Nick Cage as Ghost Rider?
Nick Cage.
Nick Cage as Nick Cage in National Treasure. We've already gotten the National Treasure call out. So you
as
have
Benjamin.
Yeah.
As Benjamin Franklin Gates.
Benjamin Button.
Benjamin Franklin Gates is going to be part of the Illuminati.
Yeah,
Broke ass Benjamin Button. I'm just going to start calling out goofy shit for the rest of the show. Idea what the fuck's going on.
This story is going to be the trial of Doctor Strange, and then you're going to find out, like, not only was he doing stuff, but Scarlet Witch was also doing stuff, and Kang was doing stuff, and all of this led to the multiverse getting
Right.
brought
Yeah.
to
Here's what I want to know.
this
Are we
point.
right in a live action Marvel movie? That's what I want to know. Would love
Probably.
every minute of Jeffrey Wright in a live action Marvel movie.
Or you know what
As
I would
who?
love? To move the fuck on.
Nice.
All right.
Yeah, they should bring him in as the Watcher. I would agree with that.
He was the voice of the Watcher in What If? So I mean,
That'd be kind of cool, actually.
right.
Except for everybody looks like a Watcher is a giant white bald baby, essentially. So that'd be kind of
Well, you
difficult
think
for
if you
Jeffrey
and I
Wright.
start
But
having sex in the middle of the show, anybody would notice?
Zuckerberg would. He would be the only one that would notice, I think.
all right, so moving on to Moon Knight, I'm guessing.
Sure.
Sure. Stay within the MCU.
Staying
Sure.
within the MCU, which I believe we're talking about episode 3.
Yes.
Yeah, I believe so.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Which is interesting. What happened in episode 3?
Right.
Did what Khonshu did with the whole reversing the stars thing, do you think they're going to use that as part of this whole multiverse thing also?
Maybe.
Because did he just do time travel, or did he just alter the sky?
He alters the sky.
I think he just altered the sky.
No,
Yeah,
he
but wouldn't
absolutely altered the sky.
Well, he absolutely altered the sky, but did that fuck with time? Because
No.
he changed the pattern of the stars and all of that stuff,
Right, but
which
he's
seems
the
like it would have an
Egyptian god
impact on
of
the
moon.
Earth.
He's the
Yeah,
Egyptian god of the moon, which means he's in
but-
charge of the night sky, so he can do whatever he wants with the stars.
Well, I know, but wouldn't that have an impact on Earth and
Earth.
gravity and
I,
RFF.
I mean, aren't the stars far enough away that we really don't care?
Technically, yes and no, but the stars that we see are potentially burned up already. We have no idea. But
I think it was more of a plot device, more of a MacGuffin to try to
I'm wondering if
story in two different directions. Like we have to figure out where this thing is, plus we have to take Khonshu out of it. So that I think that was kind of what they were doing there.
Yeah, I'm hoping
Subtle
it's
reminder,
not.
ladies and gentlemen, it is 4:20 in Colorado, and the once immovable, highly stoned object has emerged to quench his cotton mouth.
High
He is
Warner.
at least alive.
That's good.
He is still high as fuck, though. I can see it in his eyes.
There's some leftover teriyaki chicken in the fridge. You're welcome
Teriyaki
to it.
chicken. It's grilled chicken with teriyaki sauce.
Town Boston smelled like weed all the time, and then now I remember it's 420.
All right, so Moon Knight is a thing. 420 is a thing. You know what else is a thing?
What?
Stranger Things.
Are things.
Oh, are we? I had one thing to say about Moon Knight, though.
Okay, go ahead.
We also got a king thing in Moon Knight. The knife wielding people, the young one that he tries not to kill. The back of that denim jacket was King Rama Tut, which is also a king variant.
Oh,
So
I
they
did not
might be
know.
connected
That's
to the
actually
king
really
thing.
cool.
That their cult might be connected to the king thing also.
Nice.
I honestly did not know that. That is of interest.
Yeah, I'm not sure how much of an impact it is, but that was definitely Rama Tut on the back of that
Nice.
denim jacket.
Cool.
Good call out. Nice job.
Missed that completely. I was feeding the boy teriyaki chicken.
Oh,
I was
Rama
actually
Tut.
helping him distinguish between potatoes and chicken. So that's-
Oh, jeez. Rama Tut was on the back of the denim jacket person,
oh yeah, I didn't notice that.
which may be leading to more king stuff happening,
Absolutely.
which
Good
is
call.
kind of cool.
Nice job.
Right. So, Stranger Things season 4. Mark, you said when we watched this preview that you had definite thoughts.
Yeah, this is another one where you guys are going to hate me for this. So I stopped watching Stranger Things in the middle of season 1. There was so much other stuff going on television that like that narrative just became something else to me. I was like, okay, well, this is, a coming of age story. I've seen it, whatever. That's fine. But I got to tell you, any trailer that uses the most overdramatic Journey song ever made as the music is a winner in my book. And I have got to tell you that song is by far the greatest piece of music that Journey has ever made.
Oh, I don't know.
That's a pretty strong
entirety of my opinion on the Stranger Things.
Bold.
That's a bold opinion. Yeah.
Yeah, that is bold because Journey is nothing if not over the top.
Oh, but that song, come on.
Oh no, I'm not gonna say you're wrong. I'm gonna say there's other places other pieces that might have a place in the discussion.
By the way, I did not think that's where you were going when you started that sentence.
Right.
I know. I like to hit you guys with the curveball. I'm ADD. Remember that.
It's a fantastic curveball. Well done, sir.
I didn't start watching it until
it goes most of the time, but where it lands, you all will know.
Well, I didn't even start watching the show until they were talking about the release of season 3, if I'm going to be honest. That's when I started. And I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. And I just watched through it.
It's a fun
at that point.
And I didn't start watching it till after season 3 had been released.
Yeah.
Because my oldest niece loves this show.
Yeah.
It's a fun show.
There's a lot of fun.
That she has decided she is not going to watch season 4 because they made her wait too long and she's angry.
She's a liar.
Yeah,
I know. She's 14. If she's
just
not
being
lying, that's just her opinion in the moment.
Right.
She's just being
My
moody.
dog is scorned dog by older brother.
We all know what's going to happen.
So, but I mean, season 4 is supposed to be the final season.
Right.
They are breaking it in half, which we talked about last week. I would prefer that they just release an episode a week as opposed to breaking it in half like this.
Agreed.
Doing volume 1 and volume 2.
Especially
but
if it's going to be split by a month.
Yeah.
So why not just release it one at a time? Because the first one comes out on May 27th, and then the second part comes out on July 1st or something like that.
Yeah, I feel like
so
if
it's
they were to release it one at a time, then it would actually give them a longer amount of attention.
Yeah, definitely.
Than breaking it up like this. But you know what? That is actually probably, well, in my opinion, one of the reasons why Netflix has cratered by a 25% and is losing subscribers for the first time in more than a decade.
Yes.
See what I did there?
Yes. It's actually 27%, I believe, is the actual official number.
Good.
I saw 35.
You were very broken up, and I was talking, so I wasn't listening.
Carry on.
Well, I will stop talking since you are talking.
I said I saw that coming, and that was a fantastic transition.
Thank you.
So anyways, Netflix was reported to have wanting to add 2.7 million subscribers in the first quarter of 2022.
2.5.
Well, they said the actual number was above 2.5. It was 2.7, according to most experts. But Netflix itself wanted to add 2.5 million. The people who are in business said 2.7 was probably more likely. Well, instead, they lost over 200,000 total subscribers, partially because, they decided to stop giving any kind of service to Russia. So right there, they lost 700,000 subscribers.
That was not incorporated into it. That was not accounted for the loss on the 200,000.
they also raised their prices, which caused a lot of us to change.
That's what did it.
I myself am one of those people who defected away from Netflix on my own account to avoid paying double what I was paying before. And as soon as I did, they're like, "Hey, come back. We'll charge you $10 for a year." No, I don't need 2 Netflix accounts. So that's what happened. And the other side of it too is, honestly, all the other streaming services, they've got better stuff.
Other than Amazon Prime.
The Amazon Prime's got some really bad movies, but all the other streaming services have some really good stuff to watch. So Netflix isn't its own competition anymore.
Well, it's a combination of a bunch of things. It was the weird tactic of trying to sell at a higher price for subscribers if they were allowed to share passwords, because apparently they offered that service and a lot of people freaked out. It's like, oh, they're going to be tracing your IPs and cutting off your service. I'm like, no, they won't. That's not going to happen. But there was a fire sale when they introduced the idea of being charged more for sharing passwords.
Well, and they're still kicking that around apparently too. That's one of the strategies they have reportedly are talking about resulting to in order to make their profits up.
That's what everyone's saying, but if you actually read what they said, it doesn't come out that way. It comes out as one of the strategies we've been trying to use to increase our revenue is this. It's not saying that they're going to enforce a certain new thing, because what would they enforce? They can't chain your IP,
right?
Because people travel and watch Netflix,
and they already track number of screens, right? You can't have more a certain amount of screens going.
You can only have a certain amount of active screens at one time.
Right.
Well, the other side of this story too is now, because of this reported loss, they're like, well, let's basically become YouTube. And so they're going to introduce a lower or Hulu or one of those services where they have, dreaded not to go in previous years. They're going to introduce a cheaper version of Netflix that includes ads.
Did you realize they're literally the only service that doesn't do that now?
Right.
Every other service does that.
I don't think Disney does.
Except for Disney, which they also have a ad.
And I don't think, now that I think about it, I don't think HBO does. The only thing that they advertise is their own shows.
Yes.
But they still advertise.
They advertise still. They can pay through it because they advertise their other properties. Their other properties are subsidized by companies paying for those properties to exist.
Right.
I mean, I personally think it makes sense for Netflix to have the ad option. It will cut down on cost. We say Disney is not currently doing the ads. I think Tank is right that there is a lower priced version of Disney that offers ads. And even if there's not, there's the Disney Plus premium, whatever, $50 a fucking movie.
Well, and I don't know if it's out yet, but it's definitely coming. There was a report 3 months ago that they're developing an ad-based version of their property.
Right.
So I mean, I think that Netflix is obviously not going to go away. Too many of us rely on it. Plus, there is a lot of Netflix original content that's fantastic.
They lost 200,000 customers out of 220 million.
It doesn't sound like much,
but that's a lot.
When you're talking about a net loss of 200,000 versus a net gain of 2.5 million, that number seems to be a little bit more staggering.
That's the biggest part, and that's what's constituted the stock drop, is them not meeting the 2.5 growth.
Right.
The loss of 200,000 is annoying, but that's not the reason the stock dropped. The stock dropped because they did not meet what they said they were going to.
Every business wants to grow every quarter, so not having a quarter in everyone is streaming that they didn't grow is.
Well, and you're also coming out of a situation because whoever, I can't remember the damn CEO's name, whoever that asshole is, he even brought up the idea of we were hoping for this 2.5. We were predicting this 2.5 increase, but the reality is we're in an economic downturn. That did happen. There was an economic downturn, plus there are so many other options for streaming services now, and some people probably just cut Netflix because they wanted something else.
Inflation is absolutely real. That's right.
That's gonna cut into it. The reality is they're not going to just suddenly crater and
They're gonna have
disappear.
out like how to come up with better or more consistent options. Like one of the things I've seen in like people responding online to stories about this or whatnot. Well, they should be required to finish their stories. How about you just get a series that works and figure it out? Like The Witcher was fantastic. I don't care if you stopped series X or whatever it was halfway through what you had thought maybe the series was going to go, because no one's watching it. So,
well, and the reality is they're going to get that growth back because for some reason everyone has completely stopped acknowledging the idea that they just signed a massive contract with Sony.
right.
They're going to be first run for new Sony properties, which includes Spider-Man, James Bond. You know,
I don't think that we're forgetting any of that take. Or at least I'm not. What I'm seeing is this is the first time in a decade that Netflix has experienced a loss.
well, yeah, but that's going to happen.
It's true.
It
happens to every company. It's just it's a big deal because it happened to such a in-your-face part of your everyday life company.
Agreed to a certain extent, but Microsoft has lost a shit pile of money repeatedly. Sony has lost a shit pile of money repeatedly. Most phone services, most cable companies, most blah 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 lose money at certain points. The reality of the situation is that I don't know why they thought they were going to be on a constant growth cycle, but that's completely impossible.
Because they have been.
And let's be fair, they're not. None of these people are losing money.
They did. They lost a shitload of money.
Oh, there was a lot of people that lost money.
$50 billion.
But now is the time to buy your Netflix stock.
Yeah, there was a lot of people that lost
I'd say buy
value.
Right, they lost value, but they didn't lose. Netflix didn't lose money. They're still making money.
Oh yeah, no, the stock lost money. The stock lost value.
The stock didn't lose money. The stock lost value, and that's
which is money.
But it's the only people who lost the money are the people who pulled their money out.
Right.
That's the only people who lost money.
But define the value of a stock. It's a price, right? Which is associated with the cost, which therefore is money. I mean, we're talking about economics.
So if I own,
it's all based around money.
Let's say if I own a share of Netflix and it's worth $100, and then it loses
25%.
Now it's worth $75. I didn't actually lose money. I didn't lose money.
No, but you lost the value of that money.
The value, right? So
but until you sell it, you don't lose money.
But you're still the value of the money is still worth something. Whether it be in your 401k, whether it be in your stock trading, the value of the money has still got to come from somewhere. And 25% is a big number, is all we're saying.
Well, it was actually closer to 35%.
Whatsoever. But Netflix, Sony, Hulu, HBO Max, Disney, they're all making money. The money that they spend to create the content is less than the money that's coming in for them, for their subscribers. So they're still making money. They just lost value. I think that's
which is associated with the economic value.
All we're doing is saying the same thing over and over again.
Right, which is why I'm repeating myself.
Let's go ahead and while we're going to wrap up tonight with Paramount Plus, and we have the two shows on there that we've all been watching, and that is Picard and Halo. So let's go ahead and do Halo first, because I really enjoyed the most recent episode of Picard, and Halo still has me a wee bit baffled. Although this particular episode, oh, Jesus Christ, fucking God. Honey, you take over.
We're talking about Halo?
Uh-huh. Halo.
So Halo, we were so this particular episode of Halo really involved heavy
Origin.
yeah,
stories.
the origin stories of where John came from.
Yes.
And you get to see his house and what he thought was going to be the second piece of the artifact, which leads us to the story of the rings and all that stuff, is actually his drawings as a child of said ring. You also get an interesting side story with the Spartans are now starting to think for themselves, and one of them is actually removed what I've knowingly started or lovingly started calling the butt plugs.
Hashtag butt plug.
So John Spartan, which always just reminds me of Demolition Man. The fact that his name is John and he's a Spartan always reminded me of Demolition Man.
Be well.
He was the first man to take the butt plug out of the butt, and now he feels things. And now you've got this new girl, and she, not the new girl, but she's like, oh, he feels things now, so I'm going to take the butt plug out too. And so she removes the butt plug and then dyes her hair pink, which is weird because blood is not pink, and dries pink. And her hair actually changes completely color with the blood. It was this dark brown. Now it's like blonde on top and pink. I didn't know blood could do that. The most interesting part of the episode, we haven't gotten all the way through it.
We're gonna call it magic blood. Hashtag magic blood.
Butt plug blood. That, I thought was when she is actually playing with all the different weapons and she's describing the needler and how it works.
That was hilarious.
That was so funny.
So good.
She's kind of a bitch, and I like her now that she's removed the butt plug. It's kind of nice.
I
Funny,
love.
he likes me more when I wear the butt plug.
Oh Jesus! I love the revelation of the Halsey thing that he has.
Yeah.
Right.
That was really cool, and I like what they're doing with the story because we're leading into what is going to be happening in the future finally.
Right.
And for everyone that was bitching and complaining, here you go. You could see that Cortana was hesitant to do anything. She didn't tell Halsey what happened because I guarantee she knows what happened. She was sitting there staring at his memories as they were coming to, and that you're getting that separation and that realization that Cortana's having of I need to help him, not her.
Yep.
And
The
that's
artificial
huge.
intelligence is much better than the original
Right.
version, and we'll see. All of this come roundabout, and it will lead into fantastic storyline. I'm really, really enjoying this so far.
Same here.
I really like the way they're telling the story in a way that not only services the Halo fan base, which probably isn't as large as we like to think it is, being nerds, but they're also telling it in a way
Still one of the highest selling games of all time.
okay, that's video games.
That's a big market now.
That's a big market.
It's a big market. They made a show out of it, right? So they've got to make that reach more than just the people that play video games.
I don't know
True.
if you've ever watched an esports tournament lately, but they're making hand dollars over fist out there.
Down that
Somebody's paying for that stuff, and that's people.
of that. What I'm saying is they are telling the story in a way that doesn't just reach us.
Right.
It reaches a lot of folks.
Yeah.
And maybe
Definitely.
it might actually bring some of those other folks into the dark side. And maybe they'll start figuring out, oh, this is new game, Halo Unlimited. I may want to try this out.
No.
That's not going to get it to happen. Play Halo 3.
Matt, basically what you're saying is that this Halo TV show is going to do for video games what the MCU did for comic books?
I'm
Kind
not to that extent. Not to that extent. There's going to be that segment of the population is like, video games suck. Video games are terrible. I will never. But there are people who are like, oh, so video games are a way to tell a story. And that's one of the things I've always told people, because I'm the old guy, right? So there are people in my generation who are like, video games are stupid and video games are dumb and I hate video games. Dude, this is like a 3-month movie that you are participating in. And it's just another way for me to entertain myself in a way that, sure, I might pay for it, but there are stories that I'm an active participant in every single day.
Well, and Halo was one of the first ones that put a cinematic touch to that whole thing.
No, thank God, Bungie, right? I mean,
I don't think there's going to be as much movement towards it as maybe we think there is, because the same people that are drawn to a streaming service are the same people that are out there playing games. So they're not actually searching. You know, it's not like it was back in the day when there were like 8 channels and you turned it on. It's like, oh, what's this about? You know, this is all word of mouth stuff at this point. So I understand that, Matt. I'm just saying that there's not. I don't think there's going to be as much of a growth segment, as we just need to enjoy it for what it is while it lasts, and really enjoy the story building that they're doing with what they had to work with and how they're playing into where it's going from here.
See, I think I tend to agree with both of you a little bit, but I think this is going to bring people back into gaming. I think it's going to bring people that lost touch with it and then remember this franchise and like, oh, that's kind of cool. And that might bring some people back. But the reality is video games are the currently widest reaching, fastest growing entertainment group in the entire world. Video games is the fastest growing. Movies shrank, TV shrank. Video games is the biggest one currently in its ability to grow and expand. So that's going to happen either way. I don't think it's going to be driven by this series. I think this series will drive people that fell out of touch with it back in more than anything.
And if nothing else, it gives you something to think about when you play with yourself. I mean, video games by yourself.
Or the co-op experience, which is what I prefer.
Hey, that way everybody wins. Okay. Is intentional. All right. Picard. In the most recent episode of Picard, we saw some Nerdverse collide with Battlestar guy whose name is escaping me because I'm in pain. Yeah, and so I had this moment of, supreme double take. It was like, wait.
Who is that fella?
He's not from this universe.
James Callis. So good. So good.
Right? And so I had my little, nerd moment, nerdgasm, as it were, which is probably like the 5th of those I've had watching this season of Picard. Yeah, but I am very much enjoying this storyline.
This felt very much like a mid-season Star Trek: The Next Generation episode with the dreams inside the head and stories inside stories, and we're going inside visions to see what they're like, and it was very much this was a plot device episode, right, to get the story where it needed to be and told some backstory, and it just felt very Trekky, which I really enjoyed. It felt very next gen.
I was very moved by how, to your point, Mark, how many lights, right? There are 4 lights. No, there are 5 lights. I felt like it had that kind of feel to it.
I was thinking more of like the Data dreaming stuff, like when he's inside his own head.
Right.
Yeah, like this felt a lot like that kind of episode. Right.
And as soon as Picard's dad showed up, and to Bobby's point, I lost my shit because I am the biggest BSG fan in the world. And as soon as Baltar showed up, like, oh, son of a bitch! That's freaking Baltar! What's he doing there?
That
So-
gagging sound is not Baltar's cock. In that small.
No, it's his balls.
Just nuts.
Right.
Let's get into the balls.
I mean, I'm old enough to have watched the original Battlestar series, so I know that the story behind Baltar and what he is and the whole mythos. So good. And just, it took me about 38 and a half seconds because as soon as he showed up on screen, I'm like, I fucking know who this guy is. What's happening? And then I went, "Duh!" And it just struck me. I'm like, good job. Well done. Perfect casting for Picard's dad. Awesome. Loved it.
All right. Before I hit the button to end the never-ending stream of verbiage from the all of us, and by all of us I mean you. Does anyone have any last-minute thoughts or updates? We did have Anime Fest last weekend. Smurf went as the Nerds That Know representative, but he is not able to join us tonight, so we will have him give a full Anime Fest report next time.
Yeah, once he's out of prison.
Once he removes his butt plug. But other than that, parting shots?
Not really.
Okay.
Go watch
What are
everything
your-
we talked about.
Yeah.
You'll enjoy it.
Go watch all of it.
Go watch all of it. Enjoy yourselves.
Socials.
And if you watch episode 3 of Moon Knight, go ahead and slide right into episode 4. 'cause that's fucking
Socials.
cool. No.
Okay, so
Tell your socials.
You can find Nerds That Know on all of the social media platforms: YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Twitch, under Nerds That Know. So find us on all of those things. Follow Knox Nostalgia Collectibles. You can hear more of the Goon Brothers through their podcast, My Brother is an Idiot. And tonight, my fiance is not the idiot brother.
That's rude.
Wow.
Well,
Shots.
we're both idiots, so
Yeah.
I mean, in fairness, you both refer to each other as the idiot brother. I'm just ready to hit the button on the podcast because the pain meds are not working, and I'm going to have.
we need to get this one horizontal.
That sounds like a solid plan.
Yep.
All right, so we'll be back next week with more to talk about. Our feedback on all of the things that are happening in the Nerdverse. We will eventually talk about. Did we already talk Murder on the Nile?
Yeah, we talked about it last week.
Okay, cool. My brain is dead because I am in pain. So, walk hard, do shit, and leave me alone. Okay.
Do shit.
Okay. Good night, everybody. We'll see you next week.
Very well.
Bye.